Alright guys, so this is my 99 TJ 4-cylinder. It's got the 8.8 in the rear that I did a conversion and did a video on that. And I didn't record the front, but I put a G80 locker in the front from the junkyard. Well, this one came from eBay. That one came from the junkyard. That was a $40 find for a locker. That's amazing. But all that beating up on the axle and all that destroying that Dana 35 about 3 times over has tore up my transmission mount. So here we are. We're going to go up underneath there and start pulling it. The plan is to go ahead, take the floor jack. I already got the transmission supported right back there. Already taken the 4 bolts. You have to take little four little bolts out right there, and use a 13. Took them off, and what I'm going to do is put the floor jack underneath there and lift up the weight, take out these side bolts. Alright, so we took out those 4 center bolts, got it supported up on the floor jack, and I got these blocks with these pieces of wood underneath it, so as I pull out these bolts I can just lower it down and then slide it out of the way instead of having it drop a long ways or having it trying to sit on, jack stands to get it down. Also, while I'm at it, I got my flat disc on my grinder, and I'm going to go ahead and smooth all the spots where the rust is starting to build up, where the salt and water gets up in there. Go ahead and prevent that. I'm going to clean all that off with a flat disc and then spray it down with Rust-Oleum and then rubberize undercoating all the way up through there. Try to keep that from rusting out. Alright, repeat on the other side. Okay, so got everything unbolted. Now it's just sitting there on my jack stand. Again, I got this between the 4 bolts in there. Just going to slowly lower it down. Watch the transmission, make sure it doesn't go down with it. Alright. Now, 2 boards and 2 of the shorter cinder blocks makes a perfect drop to get it below the bolts. So now I can just move one of these on each side. And I can slide it back out of the way. I think I'd take that thing off-road. And there is our transmission mount that we're dealing with. Right here. Alright, so now you got these 4 bolts in here. I'm using a 15. Alright, now it's pretty simple. We just put the 4 bolts back in. Get them all torqued back up to spec. Get the plate put back on. Now just get the breaker bar and torque them up, make sure they're good and they don't come off. Alright, so you can see I got some rust spots forming around where these go in, and I got my 36 grit flap disc, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and smooth some. Alright, that took up a good bit of it. I still got. Now ideally you want to have some goggles and some gloves on. I got some of this. I got some Rust-Oleum enamel, flat black. Now I paint my frame every year. I get up underneath here and I clean up any spots of rust I see starting to appear with a brush and a drill, and then I'll Rust-Oleum coat it. In this case, what we're going to do is use the bolts for the transfer case. We're going to put them back in there. Once this paint dries, we're going to use this rubberized undercoating, and that should give it a good layer of protection for whenever I get back up north and there's a bunch of salt and snow and other stuff, so my frame doesn't rust away. So basically I'm going to repeat the same thing I just did here on the opposite side. Alright, so I got the rubberized undercoating, and I put the bolts back in for the drop, and I put them all the way up so the threads weren't showing, and that way when I coat it, nothing gets in there, so it's not going to interfere later on. And if you've never used this stuff, it's really hard to get an even coat. I'll let that dry. I'll give it one more coat, and then we'll go ahead and start bolting this back up. I'm going to do the other side now. Alright, so my next step was I slid it back up underneath here, got it relatively lined up. Again, this isn't overly heavy, it's just kind of awkward. Put the blocks in place, put the jack up underneath, raised it up slightly, and if you can see, got the bolts starting to stick out. Got them all lined up right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the jack just a little bit so I can get these lined up so I can put the drop kit back in place. Now I'm going to put all the bolts in, get them started. Before I tighten them all down. That way if I gotta wiggle it a little bit or shift it in any way, I'll be good to go. So, we'll go ahead and do the other side. Should be no different. And then we'll go ahead and crank them down. Alright, so we got the last part is put these bolts back on. Now, I know I didn't show it, but I've been putting drops of Loctite on everything prior to bolting it up, but always remember to go ahead and give it a dab of Loctite to keep it from coming loose on you. Okay, so now we're all good. Brand new transmission mounts in place. Cleaned up my rust spots. Painted them, undercoated them. Torqued everything back specs. Got my 4 bolts in the center, Loctite. Got the other side torqued up. So that's it. That's how you change the transmission mount on a 4-cylinder TJ.